one factor is militating against the development of Lagos. There's nothing wrong with our people. Lagos is being governed by directive. And it's all about money. An individual has sat down on the commonwealth of this state. And we are all being sycophantic about it. Religious leaders, men of opinions, we all know this problem. That is the major problem why we are not developing. Number one assignment is to take this Lagos Commonwealth and give it back to the people. And it must be done. There is also a problem from the individual, and that problem is fair competition. We want to remove the culture of imposition in Lagos State. Because by imposing people at the grassroots level of this state, their loyalty changes to the individual, because this same individual retains the power to remove whoever is imposed. If you are now there as the leader of the grassroots, you don't have to show your loyalty to the people. You show your loyalty to the individual, and that is the problem. We are going to remove the culture of imposition in Lagos State, and we are going to do it. We are going to form grassroots executive council, a world executive council of stakeholders all over Lagos State, comprising of nothing less than 50 people who are going to serve as special assistants to the governor. And one of them will be appointed as the ward governor, assistant ward governor 1, assistant ward governor 2, and secretary to the ward executive council. They are going to be the eye of the governor at every grassroots in Lagos State, because we have a big problem to solve. And that is the problem of underdevelopment of our people. We want to enterprise the civil service system. When I say enterprise, there are a lot of packages in it. Because of time, I'm not going to be analyzing it. But more importantly, whatever the civil service is earning, including those who are not in civil service, their earnings are supposed to support the cost of living. If your earning is not supporting the cost of living, then there will be a problem of corruption in the civil service. There will be a problem of exploitation of the people in the civil service. So we're going to look into this, enterprise the civil service system. Security. It's a major problem. In Lagos State today, the more crisis and thuggery you are able to create and distribute on the people, the more political relevance you enjoy. And it has spread to the whole of Nigeria. So bad. We all know this. It's affecting you and it's consuming everybody. People take joy. They take joy. The politicians take joy in putting arms and ammunition in the hands of opposition. Youths will be youths. They will always compete. When you put arms in the hand of one, put arms in the hand of other, they're going to be killing themselves. And they are not doing it to their own children. They put their own children in comfort, in Western world. Leave the children of the less privileged, and you people are looking. We have to address this. There are 5 types of security challenges that I observe. I call it espionage, subversion, sabotage, insurrection, and terrorism. We're going to look into it. And we are going to introduce CPR, courtesy, professionalism, and respect into the police. We're going to look at the general well-being when it comes to education, when it comes to water, like my colleagues have said, of the whole of Lagosians, and of course judiciary. Very important too. We are going to talk to the justices. One thing, they have to start taking decisions to advance socio-economic development of the people of Lagos State. So the general well-being, I'll talk about it, and of course we're going to look at the grassroots economy of Lagos. Thank you.
May I quickly just divide my submission into 2. One is the issue of good governance, and then the deliverables. On good governance, I pledge myself, 1, to publish all decisions of the State Executive Council in the press on a weekly basis or on the website of the government. Secondly, local government autonomy. Thirdly, to domesticate the Freedom of Information Act that is at the federal level in Lagos. Lagos is shrouded in mystery, and that is why a lot of people cannot move along with the government at the pace it's moving. Also on that level, and it has been mentioned before, the civil and the public servants. We need to continue to retrain them, re-educate them, and look after their welfare. Going to the manifesto, the first and most important thing, does not mean that everything else will stop, is to establish and grow a database of the people of Lagos State. What we have in LASRA is not good enough. It is based on your coming there to register as a resident. Without an efficient database, you are not able to plan. You're not able to tell how many people are in Ajegule to a relative accuracy. And thus, you do not know what sort of primary healthcare center to put there, or the strength of the primary healthcare center. And that is the problem now. Virtually all primary healthcare centers have just one doctor. Virtually all of them in Lagos at the moment. Secondly, the issue of security. I'm trying to touch on the points you raised. The issue of security, quite a lot has been achieved on that, and we have to build on that. We have to move it to the state of using more technology, control rooms, and gadgets that will help. But also the information backbone that we're talking about will help in that regard. Transportation has become a big problem. We know what is going on the Apapa axis, amongst other things, and we must begin to look at an integrated form of transportation. We have to utilize our waterways. The water has to meet the rail, and it has to meet the road. I don't know, as I said, things are shrouded in mystery. We have something good going up in Oshodi at the moment, but does it meet the rail? And definitely I don't see it meeting the water. So you are going to need about 2 or 3 of that, so that you can have people, for instance, get out from Ikorodu in the morning, go to the waterside, come by ferry straight to CMS, pick up something, or to Oyibo, or what have you. So you have to have that integrated form of transportation. Breaking down houses, increasing the size of roads may not work. You have to look in more detail at that, because we must envisage the fact that more people will keep coming into Lagos as the state continues to grow. Once your economy gets better, it is also a pool for those in the rural areas. Budgeting. We don't even have a 2019 budget yet. It's not even before the House of Assembly. But we look at it and we say, even the last one we had in 2017, I think healthcare was some 8% or 12%. And you need to move towards the healthcare of the people. The environment is there, land use charge, taxation, in trying to attract business into. Thank you very much.
I'm tempted to just drop the mic and say they have said everything I want to say. But having said that, the trust of our party in Lagos is a TAP principle, transparency, accountability, people. Basically means that when we come into government, we're going to run a transparent government, an accountable government, and people matter. Talking about the problems that we have and likely solutions, we should understand first that depending on what part of society you belong to, the problem that's important to you differs. The poor people have a different problem than the middle class. The middle class have a different problem than the elite. So having said that, what we would attempt to do when we do come in is to ensure that we tackle most of this problem head on. We find that in a state where you have about 21 million people now, the larger percentage of the population are the poor people. They are the poor people. They make up the majority of the population. So what we're going to do when we come in is to ensure that we target them first, to immediately bring alleviations to the problems that they have. Some people in this state don't even know where the next meal is coming from, don't even have a roof over their head. They live in a situation of extreme hopelessness. There's an urgency to this. The poverty level is alarming. It's alarming. If you go down there and talk to people, it's alarming. And all these problems, when we look at it together, they're all interrelated. I mean, if you don't have a job, you have no money. If you have no money, you can't get a house. If you can't get a house, you can't eat. If you can't eat, then you're looking towards crime. So I think it's first of all, it's good to understand and put all these things in proper perspective. Now, when we do get into government, one of the key things that we're going to do is we're immediately going to look at creating jobs for the most vulnerable members of society, those down and trodden that don't even know what they're going to do. They don't know what's going to happen tomorrow morning. Probably hasn't eaten yesterday, may not eat this afternoon, and he doesn't even know where his next meal is coming from. We're going to use the projects that government is going to be doing around the state in terms of improving infrastructure. We're going to ensure that as a matter of policy, you must employ people in that local government. You must, those people where those projects are domiciled, they must feel the impact of the government presence within the environment. We're going to concentrate on healthcare. The key to success in a developing economy such as us is primary healthcare. And, well, due respect to the previous administration, there are primary healthcare all over the state. The problem is they don't function as they're supposed to function because a lot of them are neglected. We are going to immediately start to refurbish the primary healthcare centers. Aside refurbishment, we'll now have special program for the most vulnerable members of society in terms of for the elderly, free healthcare for the elderly, free antenatal services for the pregnant women. We're also going to focus on the National Health Insurance Scheme, the key to providing quality healthcare for a teeming, rapidly growing state, and with the amount of population we have, lies in the healthcare scheme. I think we would tap into the program recently launched by the Lagos State government. I think they've now launched the Lagos State Health Insurance Scheme. But I think that it will not be compulsory, but we will do it so well that you would have no choice than to get involved. We're going to look into education. We're going to look into basic infrastructure. It's sad that in this year, 2019, a lot of people in Lagos don't have basic water. We're going to start from down up, focus on the basics, and build up from there. And lastly, before I leave, I would like to say that the ideal city cannot be achieved by only the government alone. It will take the public sector, the private sector, and the people. But the people will not key in if they don't see that their government is transparent, accountable, and consequences for action. We will ensure that we train and motivate the civil servants appropriately. And once we do that, if you're caught with your hand in the tin as a public servant, you're going to face the full length of the law. Dismissal is not punishment. We won't dismiss you. The law will take the due process. Part of the problem in our society is we don't have consequences. Someone does something and you dismiss him. What is that?
It's my pleasure to be before you today to announce my manifesto if I take over the reign of Lagos State government. And I've kind of put it in a catchment of 4 E's. The first E is to educate the citizen, which will take care of human capital development. The second E is to enable creativity and innovation, putting in the right infrastructure. I know that Lagos will be the mega city that is deemed to be, with proper leading, proper leadership, and everything fall into proper shape. The third E will be to empower the citizens. And this will entail providing infrastructures. We all know the problems we have. Lights, good roads, good water, etc. And the fourth E, when the 3 E's are in, will enable the eradication of poverty out of our midst. Without doubt, I will break it down into the 7 main areas we've been asked to speak about today. The first one, security. Because the policing and the general security of the Nigerian state is centralized. Part of the things that the present government has done is to have created some local policing service, and some people have been enrolled into it. I will ensure that they are properly equipped. I will ensure that they have reporting centers, at least first in the 20 local governments. They will be equipped with CCTV. They will wear cameras on themselves. They will have reporting centers where they can report crimes as soon as they're happening. And where they couldn't reach maybe their centers for one reason or the other, they can report to the nearest radio or television station to them, so that the culprits can be, arrested and justice can prevail. I know that they have bicycles, I know that they have motorcycles, and I know that they're giving some vehicles. So there is no way they can pursue people that are behaving illegally in our society without nipping them down. Another thing is that they will carry a database of criminals or people that have been mapped out with bad behaviors, taking their fingerprints into a database, and that will help us to be able to pin them down quickly. The next area that my government will affect taxation is by bringing incentives into taxation, but ensuring that multiple taxation is removed. A situation where land use charge is sporadically increased will be looked into and revised downwards. Also, other taxations, like you have on the concessionary roads, that are being charged daily and increased. We don't know what they're doing now with the money that is coming back. And this will go a long way if stemmed down to help us. Corruption can be removed by paying civil servants good salaries and opening up avenues where there could be independent reports if you are terrorized or you are hindered because you are not bribing people to have services done with the state. Infrastructures, like I've said, is going to be in a mixed modal form. Transportation will include water transportation, railway. We will have the tram service. We will have the roads repaired and everything. Also, electricity supply, which are part of the infrastructure, is going to be a mixed modal one. We can have mini grids, we can have wind gauge, we can have gas and various other areas to which we can supply electricity 24/7 to promote the economy of the state.
The Social Democratic Party is a full commitment to restructuring, by which we mean devolution of powers from the federal to the states, so that the states can invest in their natural resources and attract direct foreign investment directly without having to get permission and support from the federal government, so that we can therefore increase our IGR even as it is now. And by the way, every government since Marwa has been able to include, or rather increase, the IGR of this Lagos state. And we will do the same. And if we have direct control of our resources, we'll be able to do more. Direct control, that is to say, when we are restructured, will also give us the opportunity to have state police, so that the type of thing that happened in Benue will not happen here, as is actually happening in several places. The state will enact a law and will not be able to enforce the law. When in Benue they said no more open grazing, that's the law of the state assembly, but they had to go to the federal government to enforce the law, and the federal government was not interested in enforcing that law. So we must fight for restructuring for that reason also. In terms of the philosophy of the Social Democratic Party, we are a social welfarist party committed to the common good, committed in the spirit of Christian ethics, the belief that government is supposed to take care of the have-nots. In the figurative language of the Bible, the orphan, the widow, the poor, that is the philosophy of the Social Democratic Party. So that everything we want to do in terms of improving infrastructure, improving the economy, improving education standards is all going to be couched in this philosophy. Now, we talk about free education. When people say free education, I hear people in the audience say, are you going to afford it? Let me say this. In America, the greatest capitalist country in the world, education is free. We have to have free education. Malaysia, India, all the countries that have been able to develop, get out of poverty, have been able to do so because of free education for their people. In the university system, we will still engage the education of our young people by supporting them with loans, not the government giving them loans, but by standing as guarantee, just as you do in other countries. They get a loan, when they get a job, they pay. But government will assist in that process. We must have education, and it must be free and accessible to all our people. My motto actually is that education is the antidote to poverty. And if you have education and people can employ themselves, then the bulk of the problem is over. Everything from underdevelopment to security will be much revised if people are truly educated. It is unacceptable that in a country like this, we have almost 600 plus primary schools, 500 to 600 plus secondary schools, and only 5 technical and vocational institutions. That must be reversed. The economy of this state cannot grow with 5 technical schools. We must invest in technical and vocational education to grow our economy and to take our people out of poverty. I have talked about the governance and our commitment to the people. Thank you so much for your attention.
Our government is a progressive government. And so what we've done is to come up with a project team, something we can touch and count on our fingertips. THEME. The T will stand for traffic management and transportation. Traffic management and transportation. Very critical. Everybody has talked about traffic. We've identified over 60 traffic gridlocks that we're going to be dealing with on a short to a medium to a long-term basis. Transportation has to be internodal, with rail coming up, with waterways we're going to increase the capacity, and of course the bus rapid system that is ongoing. We complement the 3 of them on traffic and transportation. The very next one is health and environment. On health, we've got over 330 primary health institutions. We started the primary health insurance scheme. We need to quickly scale it up, put personnel on the 330 primary health so that health becomes accessible and affordable. The moment you do that, private health institutions will join up and we will have a lot more accessible health being practiced. The other part of it is environment. Waste management is something that is critical, and the advocacy must start from every home where we begin to do waste sorting. before it can get to the sanitary landfills. Once you sort your waste from the homes, which government is going to provide bags for in different colors, then waste management and investment in waste becomes a whole lot easier. Things around drainages and all the rest of it, on a year-on-year basis, we need to clear them up. The very next one is what we call education and technology. On education is to look at the vulnerable. What do we need to do? Increase wrap-up teacher training, improve quality of the locations in which teaching takes place. What are their physical environment? What do they look like? Make sure we're teaching and retraining over 2,000 teachers year on year, so that especially in the vulnerable places, right, access to quality education from the primary level is assured. And technology, we need to be very heavy on technology. Everywhere we talk about it, we have started something about it. Let's collaborate with all the telcos and have internet and the teledensity on every part of Lagos being improved upon. The very next one, which we call N, is making Lagos a 21st century economy. Lagos is working, that's why it's the 5th largest economy. 20 years ago, it wasn't even close to that at all. So something is working for them. But we need to make our Lagos, your Lagos, a greater Lagos. That's why we keep saying that we're taking Lagos to a greater place. You know, so to make Lagos greater and make it a 21st century true economy, we need to collaborate with the private sector. They are the engines of growth. They contribute 85% of the GDPs. We need to look at our GDP ratio. They are the ones that are truly pushing. So they want something around infrastructure. They want something around security. They want something around power. And so we're going to be very heavy on that. We are the only ones that have started collaboration with the two discos. Everybody talks about power, but we know what the problem is, right? And we're going to solve it and solve it very fast. We started Security Trust Fund. We're going to enable it and wrap it up and make sure that it's only when you do that, foreign direct investments will come up. Businesses will take additional risk on you and able to do more. Lagos Employability Trust Fund, they're doing a whole lot of job. They've employed, they've been able to advance finance to over 8,000. We will push on that, double and triple it. Maybe it's the budget that is being pushed there that is not enough. Let us wrap it up. Maybe it's the condition that they need to have before they access it, and we need to look into. Those are the things we need to look at. MSMEs, we need to look at what is happening in telco startup company. The very last one, after making Lagos 21st century, is entertainment and tourism. And that's a major place where you can do a lot of employment generation and do a lot of tourism potential, which we're all sitting on. We know we have 187 kilometers of road, and we can improve that corridor. But just not to lose the opportunity. I think we need to take a lot of conversations back to our home. We've lost a lot of value, you know, in our system in Lagos. And that's why the conversation in this sanctuary must start. We must take it up, and on the pulpit, let's tell people what are the corrective measures we need to do. In the schools, civic engagement must start. Homes must understand that in the school they have only 7 hours. The remaining 16 hours is at home. Parents must live up to their responsibility. They must stand up. And it's only in our churches, in our mosques, in our community engagement that those conversations need to start. So it is not only government, it's all of us that must be in it. And I can tell you that our government is going to be a transparent one. We'll ensure that within 30 days, we'll have a cabinet that is running. Thank you very much.